Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Sheila Exchange. We took a break for 2 weeks because of the Chinese New Year break, as well as, giving you all a bit of a break on a Friday evening. But once again, it's Friday evening in Kuala Lumpur, 5:30 p.m. And we've got another special guest with us today, Dr. Mugilarasi Arasarethinam. She's a women's health and well-being physician and coach who empowers women to overcome their midlife challenges so that they can improve their quality of life, be happy, healthy, and in harmony. She's very passionate about helping women to cope with this big change in their lives. And her interest in doing so arose out of her own experience and understanding the physical, mental, and emotional challenges that women of this transitional age group undergo. She believes that medicine is more than just pills and tonics. And I'm really glad to meet a doctor like her because, someone who understands the mind, body, spirit connection is truly a doctor who knows how to adopt a holistic approach towards health. She uses this approach in her own practice and believes that all illnesses have a physical, mental, emotional dimension. So she's ventured into nutritional medicine, energy medicine, and NLP, and is a very, very empowering person, one of the most empowering doctors I've ever encountered. And she started an empowerment platform called the Align Life 2 years ago to share her knowledge and to share her experience of helping women go through menopause so that more women will be able to cope with it, speak about it, understand it. Now, menopause, as many of you know, it's a subject that very few women talk about openly. They might talk about it with another woman friend, but some women don't even want to talk about it with their spouses and their partners or their children. So suddenly you have this wife and mother who is calm, a homemaker, the nurturer, turning into a different personality, and people are going, what's going on with her? And they are reacting to that, not knowing that there's a whole heap of stuff going on inside of them, right? So I thought it'd be great to have Dr. Mugil, as I call her, to be with us today. Doctor, welcome.
Hi, Sheila. Thank you so much for that flattering introduction. I'm very, very flattered. I'm it felt good, actually. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. It's true. I just spoke the truth, that to find someone who really wants to come on board and advocate a topic that's not so popular. There are lots of women going into aesthetic medicine or, how to be a true leader, break through the glass ceiling. And you're talking about something that's so practical that older women, as women get older sometimes, although they might get more successful in their careers, they begin to feel inadequate some way. The weight comes on, it's harder to keep your figure, hair starts dropping. And then I think a lot of the times it's when the ovaries begin to stop producing that many women feel that they are less than women. So before we go on to all of that, and you tell us more because you're in a position to know more, Doctor, what made you go into the study and treatment of the symptoms associated with menopause in particular?
Okay, that's a very, very interesting question. Just 8 years ago, if you had seen me, you won't see this Mugil that you're seeing now. I was much younger, by 8 years, but I was much more miserable. I was much more bitter, and I had no purpose. I just felt like I've lost all the enthusiasm for life. So I was a person who had a young family, and I was just started my practice. It was going all well. I was all driven. My husband is a heart surgeon, so he's never there in the house most of the time. So I was running the house, the clinic, my kids, dropping them, picking them up, cooking. So I was like, okay, I can manage this. I'm a multitasker. I don't need anyone. And then suddenly it's like your battery going low. You just, even to do a simplest thing, it is so difficult. And then you get bitter and you get very depressed, and then you just don't know what's happening to you. Something is changing. This is not me, but you just cannot come out of it. my hardest point was when I started envying other women. I've never been competitive or comparing. I just mind my own business. But there was a point when I look at any other successful women, instead of being happy, I used to feel such a ill feeling inside. Like, how can they have it all? And how come I'm suffering here? And that really got me scared. And the next thing was, I love children. I think when I was young, someone asked me, what's your ambition? I said, I wanted to be a housewife and have lots of children. That was my ambition. So I had my two kids, adored them. And at that phase, they appeared like a biggest burden to me. I remember
Ah.
sitting down one day and thinking, God, did I make a mistake of having children? And that statement came back to me like, something is really wrong. This is not me. So I was already a spiritually inclined person. And I didn't think it was anything to do with menopause. I was 42. I didn't have any hot flushes, no period problems, nothing, no acne, nothing to do with hormonal. So I thought this can't be PMS. This is something I'm probably going a bit towards clinical depression, but I don't want to get there. So I started doing a lot of research on this, and I started working on myself. So that's how I got into a therapeutic journaling. I started journaling for the last 8 years. Every day, every morning, I journal because it's very, very therapeutic. And that opened up a lot of space for me to explore. And I did NLP as well because I needed to reorganize my brain. And all that, and I started seeing, and as I was reading, I started looking at it like, these are symptoms of perimenopause. I am going through perimenopause. So perimenopause and menopause is not just the clinical symptoms that everyone mentions, it's far beyond that. And a lot of women are suffering in silence because they can't go to a doctor and say, I'm feeling, I have no enthusiasm, I'm not motivated. Then the doctor probably would not understand those days, right?
Or might give them some pills, which they
Yeah,
don't
I
need.
give them some pills. Yeah, or they might just refer you to a psychologist or a psychiatrist because these are symptoms of depression. Then when I started realizing this, I think, universe works in such a way, it start attracting more women with the same problem to you. And you start really looking at all the things. And when you probe further, they come to me to the clinic with complaints of headache, which doesn't go away, or leg pain or hand pain. But when you probe further, it's always this feeling: hopeless, useless, helpless. It just suddenly comes like a cloud over you, and you just don't feel like doing anything. You just feel like you're not capable of anything. You think the person who was had the ability to do everything is missing, suddenly gone somewhere, and you feel so lost, so angry. And that's what got me into looking at the mind, emotion, and body connection in menopause and perimenopause. So now 8 years, I've actually come up with a way to manage this in all three sectors. Now it's creating awareness because not many women want to talk about it, and not many know you don't really need just hormones to manage this. There's much more before that. So
Hmm.
that's how it started, and that's how it's going.
And that's makes it sort of even more real to the women out there that all your body of knowledge and experience and sharing and treatment comes from your own research because of your own experience.
Yeah.
And you're so right, Dr. Mogil, that I think that sometimes God allows us to go through the experiences we go through in order for us to be able to understand others, to go through it in order to be able to help them. Yeah. And
Absolutely.
so I suppose in some paradoxical way, we need to be thankful that you went through that journey.
Yes, I'm extremely thankful. And that's why I'm trying to teach every woman who's going through it. Don't look at it as a curse. It is not. It's trying
Yeah.
to lift you to another stage. But you
Yeah.
got to do the work. You can't run away from it.
And that's why in very generic terms, it's known as the big change, isn't it? Because it's
Yes.
really about transitioning from one role, your whole body, mindset, everything, transitioning from that role as maybe, a caregiver, a childbearer, the motherly instinct into something else. Great. So, okay. So you were talking about symptoms not being the typical symptoms, textbook symptoms, right? So why do some women go through menopause with minimal symptoms and some have a really horrible time of it?
Yeah. Well, that's a very nice way to look at it. You see, like you said, this is a transition period. Actually, it's only after the menopause a woman becomes a woman. Before that, see, our life cycle can be divided every 7 years. So 0 to 7, we were a child, right? And said from 7 to 14, we go into adolescence. That's when the whole hormones start kicking in. 14 to 21, you are prepubertal. I mean, sorry, 0 to 7, 7 to 14 is prepubertal, 14 to 21 is adolescence. So adolescence is the time when you are actually getting attracted to the opposite sex, your hormones are kicking in, you're confused, you don't know what's happening. Actually, you don't know what's happening. From 14 onwards, you're actually living in a blank, but like a haze. And then 21 to 42, that big chunk is the reproductive age. So your work at that time was to produce progeny for the survival of the humanity, or whatever you can say it. So you are not functioning in none of these age groups. You actually are you. But after 42, that's when the transition starts. This is the time for a woman to become a woman, to fulfill her role as a woman. So a lot of us are thinking our role as a woman is to give life to another life, produce babies. That's all we are here to do. But we are here to do more. We are co-creators. We are not just people who procreate. We are here to create more important things. So 42 is the time it knocks and tells you, look, you got a better thing to do, and it's time for you to look at it. But we get so scared because we have already been so tied up with our role as a mother, caregiver, like you said. So I'm supposed to be giving birth to babies. I'm supposed to have my periods. Now everything is stopping. Who am I? A big question mark, So it's something like, you ask me why some people have severe symptoms, some people have lighter symptoms. So just imagine you're shifting from an old house to a new house, right? And this old house, you've been staying there for donkey number of years. You have accumulated a lot of things. You're hoarded this, hoarded that, everything. And then you have to make this shift. It's quite sudden. It doesn't happen gradually. So you have to make a shift, let's say in a week. So you just dump everything into your boxes, you packed it, and then you come to your new house and you open your boxes, you're unpacking, you have taken out everything, everything's on the floor right in front of you, and you do not know where to start, what to keep, what to throw, where do I put this? Can I fit this in my new house? Will this go in here? Will this go in there? That chaos, right, is your symptoms of perimenopause and menopause. So if the more junk you have accumulated over in the whole house and the more damage you have created for yourself, the worse the symptoms, right? So 90% of women step into their perimenopause age group emotionally exhausted, nutritionally depleted, mentally dampened. They've actually been dampened. Their IQ drops, So yeah, because
That,
they,
that's Yeah, that's so interesting. As you're saying that, I'm thinking of my own experience, right? So because for me personally, when there are women talking about how they've been through such a terrible time in menopause, I'm looking at them and saying, yeah, I mean, I had some symptoms, but it wasn't that bad. What are you all talking about? As you're talking, it becomes very interesting because when you use the metaphor of moving house, I actually went through the beginning of that change at the time when I moved house. I literally moved house into my new house,
yeah,
which we assume my late husband neither is going to be our permanent home. And when I moved in, and I was really happy here, and it was also at that time that a few years earlier, a couple of years earlier, I had started my company, my new business. So there was a lot of change and all already going on out there that my mind was syncing with. So, gosh, that's amazing. Your metaphor is spot on for me.
yeah,
Perfect.
that's how it is. So some of us somehow got rid of some junk, somehow knowingly, unknowingly, and then some of us come with all lot of burden, completely depleted state. See, when this menopause so happens, it doesn't happen just a hormonal change, right? That's
Yeah.
a time when your life is also changing.
Mm.
You are getting older, your parents are getting older, your spouse is getting older. There are a lot of illness which might come in, a lot of challenges, new sets of challenges. So I call this menopause period a period of sandwich. So your children are grown up, but you still have to attend to them because they have their education and all the financial matters related to that. At the same time, your parents have grown older and you need to take care of them. Your spouse might need you because his health conditions might not be so good. So you are stuck. And this is the time the menopause will kick in because this is the learning process. This is where you're supposed to wake up and embrace the greater part of you, but then you succumb to the whole thing because you're not prepared.
Mm.
You're not prepared for it. Yeah.
And also in some ways that while you still have to take care of your children's educational needs and food and stuff, I think emotionally they begin to depend less on you.
Yeah.
And because your whole personality for up to that age of 42 or around thereabouts is so entrenched in being a mother as well, when they don't need you to that extent anymore, that again puts some sort of emotional stress on you. This is so interesting. I mean, you're just giving me a whole new education on this. So have you noticed, Dr. Mugil, that where there are women who are sort of need to go through that transition, where there are other changes like maybe happening outside, that actually syncs with the onset of menopause? Have you noticed something like that?
It's always like that. That's how it happens. You will always be focusing on what's happening outside of you. You forget the chaos that's going on inside of you, and then you try to sort this out when you are not really equipped or ready to handle that. So that's the time when I think that's what I coach women. I said, this is the time you focus on yourself.
Mm,
Focus on yourself, build yourself, and then go attend these problems, because the problems will wait for you.
mm,
So that's why. So most of them will get sidetracked. They don't
mm,
realize it's happening inside. They start seeing things outside, and
mm,
everything is crumbling in front of you. You think like,
mm,
why is this happening to me? But actually, what's crumbling is you. You are crumbling inside. You are the center of your universe. Your
mm.
universe is crumbling. You got to build yourself up. That's how it knocks. It doesn't come straight forward and say, look, this is PMS symptoms. Your hormones are going down. Do something. No.
You're right, because if the pillar that's you is that's holding everything up is beginning to crumble inside, got to show up that pillar first, otherwise the whole house can come
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Interesting. So would you to advocate then that the women who are beginning to feel the symptoms and this chaos inside of themselves, that they really go out and maybe seek some help to sort out that internal state to be able to, because mind, body, spirit are connected. If you're going through all that chaos, it's definitely going to be, reflecting in your body.
Yeah.
Could you tell us, I mean, in your experience and observation, what are some of the worst symptoms and the least kind of symptoms that women experience? So you got the spectrum, right? The worst experience. And then you have some women who just sail through it and go like, menopause, I know, my period stopped, that's it.
Yeah.
I didn't feel anything. Hot flashes, what are those? Don't know what it is. For me, I barely had all this, little bit here and there hot flashes, not the prolonged like years and years of it. But there's one thing I felt lah. There are times when I had irrational rage. I wanted to take my the batu tumbo and whack someone in the head. I'm like, that's not me. I'm not violent at all. Why do I feel this? Then I just put it down to that and then started managing the internal anger. So if you have the tools,
Mm.
I guess you're in a better position. So the symptoms,
Yeah.
the very extreme ones and the not so bad ones.
So we have the mental symptoms, emotional symptoms, and then we also have the physical symptoms. Now the physical symptoms are obvious, like hot flushes, weight gain, acne, insomnia, unable to sleep, and then frequency of urination. You might get frequent urinary tract infection. And there are two important things which during my research I found out that women have, but women have never been associated with menopause, is vertigo. The
Ah,
spinning sensation.
yeah.
Yeah, so many women do get it during perimenopause. That's one of the symptoms of perimenopause. So and then they get very worked up, like, I never had this before, how come I'm having this? And then that builds on the anxiety. The other very important one is something we call relative hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia is something which, what we mean by hypoglycemia is when your blood sugar drops below the normal level. So for an ordinary person, that should not happen, because if you're not eating, your liver kicks in to produce the sugar, right? But this menopausal stage, what happens exactly at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, the
Mm,
sugar drops not to the very low level, but low enough to trigger the brain off. So
mm,
they wake up with this anxiety, palpitation, sweating, so, and then it goes on for the whole day. So a lot of women come to me thinking they're having anxiety attack, panic attacks, but it's not that. It's just relative hypoglycemia, and that's way to correct it, but simply changing the time of eating. You have to eat every 4 hours. So if you are experiencing this anxiety which suddenly comes over you and you're in the menopause age group, now change the way you eat every 4 hours. So all these diseases have degrees, symptoms have degrees, mild to severe. Who is going to experience what? We don't know. We really can't predict. So you might have mild hot flushes, but then you have major hypoglycemia, or you might not have any symptoms at all. Depends. Like my mom had no symptoms at all, so I'm hoping that I will not have any symptoms as well. You know, so she never had. So it just stopped. That's it. Finish. But then that's the physical part. But every physical symptom has an emotional and a mental thing that going on. But once it comes out as physical, we have to attend to the physical need first. So we need to correct your nutritional status. We need to correct, look at your hormones. Is it so bad? Some women go to severe depression, incapacitating. They can't work. In those women, hormone replacement is needed. So the allopathy or the English medicine is a life-saving medicine, not a life-sustaining one. So when you are so bad, yes, we have to step in. We have to give you the hormones. We have to give you what you needed. But you can't depend on that hormone forever. You got started doing your work emotionally and mentally to get your body back. So to answer your question, the severity is very unpredictable. Anyone can have anything. Some people just breeze through it. Some people funnily don't have. If I want to talk about menopause, right, Sheila? Menopause is just that 1 year that you don't have your period. But what we are really worried about is the perimenopause, the time around menopause, which is about 10 years before you actually stop your periods and 5 years after you stop your period. So that's about 15 to 20 years of your life. You go through this confusion and chaos, you know, so it's that much of burden on you.
Trying to figure out.
Yeah.
No,
But,
that's
but you know, just look back, right? Our lives were always filled with challenges. It's not only at 45 or 46 we are facing all this overwhelming burden. We always had it, but at
yes.
that time we had the resources to tackle it. During menopause, we are at our most vulnerable state. Very, very easily we give in. So that's why it looks like as if, why is this happening now? But it's always been happening. So the change is actually you, not your surrounding. So you need to look within.
Okay, so that's really very interesting. Know what you're saying. How then can women alleviate these symptoms? Because of course there's a root cause,
Yeah.
right? There's from what you have said, there's the hormonal changes, there's the changes outside, and then that impacts your mental state, which then impacts your body because some women sail through it, you know, and I don't know, is it the disposition of women who sail through it are pragmatic, happy-go-lucky, practical, and women who have the worst symptoms, do you find a correlation that they are the ones who are like, you know, have the lot of worries inside, the ones who are most negative, have a very negative culture? Do you find that that's the thing?
Yeah, the cultural and the belief system they have influences the outcome of the menopause. So the more you believe that a woman's functionality is associated with her mean the ability to
Reproductive,
reproduce,
yeah.
yeah, ability to reproduce, the more they go to the depression. So if you look back at the history, just 5,000 years ago, before that, this was a matriarchal society. Women were supportive. They were living in tribes. They believed that to thrive, they must have a tribe. So it was a very, very loving community. But when patriarchal systems start coming up, they needed to find a way to keep this women suppressed. So the only way they could find out is to associate the ability to give a progeny and a function of a woman. So a woman is only functional until she can give the man a child. So the moment she can't, she's been sidetracked and he marries another one or he brings in another girl. So this is what the animosity between women that has been harbored in our DNA so much. So we are so scared. We're getting old. I'm getting old. I'm going to get wrinkles. I'm going to lose my shape and I can't produce babies. So I'm becoming useless. So this has been so deeply ingrained in us, right? So those women who believe in that, the more they believe in that, the more severe symptoms they experience, because they go like, oh no, this is it, I've got my menopause symptoms gone, after this I'm nothing, and they really, really give up on life. And you can see a lot of women after 55, they'll be 55, you know, Sheila, it's such a young age, right? They'll come to me and they look like they're so sick, they're 80s like that. And why, what's wrong with you? I'm 55 already, doctor, nothing there to look forward to.
And my life has ended because I'm 55, I'm menopause, I can't have children.
Yeah, finish, I'm useless. So inside the frame or the mind, the reframing has to be changed now. Your life starts after menopause. You got so many, and now women live up to 85 to 90. So what are you going to do from 55 to 90? Just sit and waste your life. Is it? It's 45 years.
Exactly.
Yeah, much more than what you have lived till now. You got
Yeah.
45 years to do something about your life, you know? Yeah.
I like that. So to our audience listening out there, menopause doesn't mean your life ends. It means your life could just be beginning, according to what Dr. Mughal is saying. And I totally agree with that. What's interesting when you talked about genetics and it being entrenched in our genetics, there are people out there thinking, yeah, but we're educated women, we can read about this. And there, I know there are a lot of educated people out there who have been taught one thing, and logically speaking, they need to be knowing those things. But as you say, it's entrenched in our DNA. And for me, it all goes back to the field of epigenetics, right? It's about, and I believe that we carry a lot of memory, learning, knowledge, culture, beliefs. We carry it through the generations. So I might be educated and have read all these things, but I'm still carrying those beliefs, those tribal beliefs, superstitious beliefs with me. And that's what's impacting whatever is happening
Yeah.
in our bodies. So I think it's a good practice for women who are already beginning to feel some perimenopausal symptoms to actually be going out there and doing a cleaning of their house internally, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so from a body aspect, go check up your essentials, and then do your detox and all that sort of whatever you want to do. Ayurveda, holistic medicines, acupressure, acupuncture. I think that's good because I believe all of them do help menopause as well and treating the menopause symptoms. And I think it's the mental state that, if there's lots of anger, unforgiveness, stuff that you've gone through, to really go through some sort of coaching to
Yeah.
get it out in your system. And then also to begin to become more spiritual. Now, I'm not talking about religion here because there
Oh,
are some
my
people who
God.
say, I don't believe in God. But I think it's about being more spiritual. It's about discovering your purpose and your passion
Yeah.
and your reason, which you obviously have already found because,
Yeah.
look at you, you're happy and you're glowing. And, I
Um,
was going to ask you about the onset of menopause and how long it lasts, but you answered me like it starts around 42 onwards and goes on for about 15 years, 10 years before, 5 years after.
yeah.
So how do you treat women in helping to mitigate or alleviate both the mental and physical symptoms? What's your course of your approach?
Right. So initially, though, you see, the awareness that there is a mind-body connection here is not that good, that great. So people prefer to, if I tell them it's physical and you need to take this and you'll get better, they like that. They don't want to do the work. They want you to do the work for them. So with those
Quick fix
patients,
lah. They want a quick fix.
yeah.
Take pop
So
one pill and take the hormones, and then I'll feel better. My skin will be glowing.
yeah, that's it. Yeah. So I can you suggest hormones? Okay. So with those kind of patients, you have to work gradually. So I work with their physical symptoms first. So usually these women will be lacking a very important nutrient, magnesium. Most menopause women will be lacking magnesium. So if you're having symptoms and you really, really don't want to go and see anybody, you don't have to suffer alone. You can take magnesium. It's very safe medication. It will give you a little bit of enlightenment. That's the word. So you get a bit of mental strength to go ahead, see what should I do next, otherwise you'll be like in a dark cloud surrounding you. So I work with that. I tell them few herbs that they can take, change their lifestyle, change their eating habits, cut down on the sugar, eat more regularly, start taking care of yourself, those kind of things. But the real way to approach these women is what I call aligned coaching, which I try to do in my clinic with some women who are open to the idea, where we go mental, the emotional, and the physical alignment. So align it so that what I call it is you reignite your spark and you redesign your life, you realign yourself to a happy, healthy, and harmonious life. So that's what we want. And once you are in that alignment, I'm not saying you will never fall off, you will, but you know how to get back.
Mm,
So you become very resilient, very self-resourceful. So
mm,
that's side coaching. That's what we do in Align Life. So we are trying to create awareness amongst people that this is what needs to be done, because there's a lot of component. I mentioned about mental, but there's also emotional component of pain, body, and womb healing.
mm,
Okay, or mother wound we call it. So these are the things which also affects you, because when I say pain body, Eckhart Tolle in his book, he mentioned this. We carry this, it's in our genes. Pain from our ancestors, many, many generations away. We
Correct.
women suffered a lot. We were called witches. We were pushed into fire. We have been degraded over the years. So all this pain is inside you, and without you realizing, usually just before your period, the PMS, this outburst will come. You'll feel so depressed, so angry, and you feel so sad. You don't know why. You say, why am I crying? Why am I crying? Doctor will come to me and say, why do I cry before my periods? Because that's the amount of sadness which you have been carrying around genetic. So you have to cleanse this. You have to remove this. And then, of course, the wound is what we have. It's mother wound. It's also called mother wound. Your mother need not be a tormentor. She need not be abusive. But if she didn't meet you at your emotional level, you will always be the child who's seeking things. So that also comes out during menopause. So all these things will come out. But having said that, Sheila, the physical symptoms are real. So sometimes you cannot have the physical symptoms full blown and try to do a mental and emotional healing.
Mm.
You got to calm the physical body first.
Right.
So you need to see a professional and see what you can do about it, and then take charge of your mind and your emotion. So that's how I will work around it.
Uh,
Yeah.
I suppose you address what's the most critical first. Yeah.
It's always
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like giving a man who's starving, going and talking to me, but you got to change your attitude and be more spiritual instead of giving him food, right? So you take care of the
yeah.
the the main symptoms first. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's actually a very good approach to take, because then the women trust you more as well.
Yeah. So it takes
Right?
time.
Because they get the immediate relief, and then they go like, okay, now I'm willing to listen to how I can keep this, this good state going on.
Yeah.
Now, Doctor, how can people around the menopausal woman help? Because suddenly, she's not saying anything. She hasn't told anyone, this is happening. Periods are irregular. I'm getting hot flushes. Just carries on as usual. And suddenly everyone says, Mom's turning into a monster, And then the husband's like, I don't know what's wrong with you. You're so irritable. I can't say anything. I better keep quiet, not talk. And the children are like, oh, okay, go, come slam. And that actually makes them feel more alienated. So what can the people around, partners, friends, family members, what can we do if the woman doesn't tell you that she's menopausal, but you notice something's happening?
Yeah. So that's what you see. That's very nice thing. The husband and the daughter or son will come with the mother, and they'll say like, my mother's going through this. It's menopause symptoms. Like, oh, okay.
Mm.
So it's like as if it's something which is so ordinary, and the mother is just going through it. So we just want her to get done with it. But they don't realize the amount of emotional, mental, and physical
Stress.
that the woman is going through. So creating that awareness among the family members that you got to be supportive in this phase. Now, menopause symptoms are temporary. They are not going to be there all the time. It's a temporary phase. So they need to be supported, because they themselves don't know what's going on inside of them. That awareness for them is not there. So you have to build the awareness for the person to know that I'm having menopause symptoms, and to be able to communicate that to the members. And we also have to have something to create awareness for the family. So that's what we try to do. Sometimes we give talks, we try to get people in, but a lot of men still think it's a women's topic. It is not.
Mm.
So even in offices, in UK, US, and all those in the Western countries, they have a menopause committee. So they have a menopause policy. So they make sure for these women, the toilet is nearby. There's a proper air conditioning system, because they get hot flushes. So, and they work with their emotional thing. Like there are days when they can concentrate. Okay, you do this. There are days you're feeling a bit disturbed. You do something else. They're so aware, and they run programs for the whole office to know that menopause is real. It's something a woman goes through, and it needs to be supported, not labeled and
Made
okay.
fun of.
Yes.
Because we can be very sexist. I've heard people going, when a woman's being like, a bit irritable, yeah, she's got a period, leave alone. Or,
Yeah.
that one must be menopausing, And I think that's really cruel. And we really need to stop this sort of sexism. We should legislate against such sort of sexism in the workplace. Yeah.
Exactly, because it is something a woman is going through, and we need to support it as the whole community needs to support it. It's not something a woman has to sort out herself. It's like, oh yeah, she's going through that, let us sort it out. We just leave her alone, she'll sort it out herself. That's the attitude people have now. So husbands are very proud to say, like, I know it's menopause symptom, doctor, but that's why she's shouting. But don't you understand that you need to be there for her? No,
Yeah.
they don't understand, they don't get it. So yeah.
I wish there was a way to kind of like simulate the symptoms of menopause in other people, and
Yeah.
then let them go through it for like 3 days, and they'll probably come screaming and say, I'll support you. I understand what you're going through now. Yep, so
Yeah, that's what. Even your PMS, premenstrual syndromes, right?
yeah,
It's cyclical depression. So for a clinical depression, you need 2 weeks and more of feeling low. But every month, a woman goes through 1 week of feeling terrible. She's lowest at that time. But people just pass it off by, oh, she's having PMS.
yeah,
Well, she's not just having PMS, she's really having a depression. So how will
yeah.
you support a person in depression? Why don't you do that for the woman? You know? Yeah.
So what could we be doing at the workplace? I mean, you gave me some examples of overseas, like
Hmm.
looking at Malaysia, we tend to sort of, we don't have such clear laws to protect women against sexism and discrimination and all that here, right? But what can organizations do to sort of be more empathetic towards these women who are either going through premenstrual sort of stress or depression, or as well as perimenopausal symptoms?
Yeah, that's a good one. You see, if you look at the workforce now, women are coming back to work around 42, 43, because that's when the families settle and they want to build their career. So we are going to have majority of women who are going to go through menopause. So the culture of the workplace has to change. It has to be supportive. And this is one we see. I have two strong belief, right? Look at COVID-19 now and how the businesses are collapsing one by one. And if you look at it, all this business system are based on a masculine system. It's not to say masculine dominance. I don't believe in that. Nobody dominates another person, right? But it's masculine oriented. It's for a man, how he runs a job. He's a survivor. He fights for it. He defends. He goes attacks. So that's how we've been working. But women as entrepreneurs, we are very nurturing. We are very embracing. We want everyone to come up. It's like a tribe. We want to come up, right? So this is the time to focus on these women because they can bring out the paradigm shift. So if companies want a sustained economy in anything, we have to shift now from a masculine set mindset, entrepreneurial mindset, to a feminine
Mm,
based. I'm not saying I'm a feminist, I'm saying feminine energy based,
mm,
right? And for that, you need to first learn to support these women, menopause or PMS. Sweden gives unpaid leave, 3 days, 3 days paid leave for period pain, you know? Yeah. And even look at our culture also, right? Um, Way back, women are not allowed to work on the 3 days when they have periods
yeah.
because it's the most tiring time for them. But we looked at it as if we are being segregated, but that was not it. They wanted you to take rest.
They looked upon it as a sign of weakness. And I think women themselves said, no, 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 we can work because we don't want to be seen to be weak and lose out. I think sometimes we're our worst enemies. Yeah.
Yeah. We are fighting to be like a man. We're fighting for equality. We have to fight for our uniqueness. We are women
Ah,
and we have the certain needs, and that has to be addressed.
I don't want to be a man.
No,
Okay.
I don't want to be a man
No, I
either.
still don't be a man. I'm great fun being a woman. I get to try all kinds of clothes and I'm empathic, and it's great being a mother and being a woman. And I think I'm probably one of those few women who, when I went actually menopause, I was like, oh, yay, I don't have that monthly, I have to deal with the monthly stuff anymore.
Yeah.
So,
You
yeah.
don't need that. It's you don't need that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Mm. So, okay, so looking at the things that we go through in menopause, there's the pain, the physical symptoms, the emotional depression, the ups and downs, irritability, and all that. So some people would say, okay, that's the downside of it. So once you have gone through menopause and then transition into that place where you're not even post sort of menopausal, then you're well and good. So what's the good part of that? What's the upside to? I think women need to hear that there is a good side to having menopause. I can testify to that. But, as the doctor, they'll want to hear from the expert.
Yeah. That you have another 45 years of life after your menopause.
Okay.
How that year's going to be, it depends on how you treat your menopause, your perimenopause period. So it's very important. Done correctly, which means you replenish your nutrition, you correct your emotional status, you get back your resilience, you can have a functional life until you're about 85, 90. Your body is going to wear out, but you won't age that fast. All the wrinkles you're seeing, all the aging process is the stress that you haven't removed, and all the nutrition like magnesium, your chromium, there's a lot of nutritions which you must replenish. This is the time to replenish. Your multivitamins are not going to help. You need to get your profile straight, and you got to do that 2 years. You need to work on replenishing yourself completely. You need it, and if you do that correctly, you can have a very, I would say that I can't say you will not have any diseases at all, but you will bounce back. Because that's a false promise. If I say you're going to be perfect, no, things will happen.
Absolutely.
Your body can bounce back, and you will feel so positive about yourself. What is beauty? What's the glow? It's a confidence that you carry,
Mm.
right? So take care, look good. So what if you're 60? So what, you're 55? You have all the right to look good.
Mm.
Go eat healthy food, invest in yourself, invest in learning. Keep, see, like look at you, Sheila. You never stop learning. Probably that's what is your anti-aging secret. And
Yeah,
that's why you're
probably, maybe that's why the less wrinkles.
yeah, you can't see any. So
There,
why,
there.
yeah, why your symptoms are not so bad, because
Uh,
you already engaging yourself in something else, instead of looking at what's not there, what's
that's,
going on,
you're
what's
right.
doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So women should always get into this reinventing themselves, because you're so beautiful, you're so capable. You gave birth to another life. If we can create another life, can you imagine how powerful we really are? And
Yeah.
why should we stop at 55 or
Being
45?
powerful. In
Yeah,
fact, in fact, that's one phase that we have take, and we can take all those learnings to create new things, give birth to new things, not necessarily children, human beings, but to give birth to new ideas, new businesses, new innovation,
yes.
new purpose, like what you have done,
Mm.
like what many of the women I know have done. Some of the most powerful women that I know actually are women in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like that phase is done. Now I'll deal with all these symptoms and all that. Like for me, it was like symptoms are just got no time. Carry on and do what you need to do. So I think it's about keeping yourself busy. It's about what you're to summarize what you say, clearing all your emotional baggage, taking care of your health. I need to go and look in the mirror and see what else. I come see you about what I can do about those bits of wrinkles
well,
going on
I
there.
love my crow feet. I have a lot of crow feet. I love them because they are markers of my happiness. I've laughed,
Yeah.
I smiled so much, so the wrinkles are there. So why should I worry about it?
It's true. It's true. The white hair, the wrinkle symbol of
Yeah,
wisdom.
I still don't have the courage to show off my white hair yet, Sheila. Maybe I'll do it soon.
Wait a while. I did it when I think I started in about my 50s, right? I was the first person in my family, and everybody discouraged me because everyone's coloring in their hair. That she's younger and the hair is white. That means everyone knows we're coloring her hair. But anyway, at the end of the day, it's just I think about it's about being comfortable. They say grow old gracefully. And I am a big believer in that because I think you need the day you begin to not just accept but embrace the changes and how you're evolving is the day that those things won't overwhelm you and consume you, but they will actually define you. All
Definitely.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you
Yeah.
you are okay. I'm just going to use you as an example, right? Right now, you look very young, but women who are younger than you. No, I'm not joking. I'm not saying this. But you carry a sense of elegance. That's because you have embraced who you are. You're not fighting with, I'm going to go anti-aging. I'm going to
Mm.
try to remove this. I'm going to try to remove. No, this is me. And I'm very proud of myself. I have gone through enough in my life, and I'm supposed to be celebrated. So all women need to be celebrated.
Mm.
So yeah, so having said that, all these things, so if you are suffering, or you think you're having a menopause symptoms or perimenopause symptoms, talk to somebody. Talk to the right person, not someone who will tell you, okay, my grandmother said do this, my grandma uncle said do this.
Mm.
Talk to the right person, and then plan out your next 2 years. What am I going to do? What is it really bothering me? If it's physical, let's manage it. If this is mental, let's manage it. And that's it.
Yeah, and I am now today, after our conversation, doctor, I'm fully convinced that you are that person that they should come and see. And even someone who's kind of left that face behind, I think I should come and see you also. And one thing you said that struck me today is that to be really comfortable with yourself and accept every aspect of yourself.
Yeah.
So this tonight, I'm going to stand in front of the mirror and I'm going to say to my wrinkles, I love you. And I'm going to say to my cellulite, I love you too.
Whoa, yeah. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I'm not going to hate you for making me look like this, but
Yeah.
I'm just going to embrace every aspect of me. And I think that's a very powerful message to all of us who are listening to this, that today, no matter how big you are, how small you are, thin, fat, tall, dark, short, with acne, smooth skin, wrinkles, no wrinkles, whoever you are, gray hair, dark hair, just learn to love yourself.
Yeah.
And when that big change comes, you will be more than ready to
Yeah.
embrace it.
Embrace.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much. You've been
you.
listening to me, Sheila Singham, on the Sheila Exchange, talking to the expert on and the advocate for treating women who are going through big change, Dr. Mugilarasi Arasarethinam. Thank you for joining me today on this very empowering and enlightening session.
Thank you so much, Sheila. Thank you for giving me this platform, because this is something I needed to do. This is my purpose. So, and thanks for supporting that. Thank you so much.
Ever ready. It's such a good thing that you're doing. Thank you.